Hi everyone, I'm Risty and here are a few things to get you in the right mindset for Smite League, going from the attitude of everyone around you to what jobs the specific roles have. So the entry requirements to League are to be level 30 and have 14 gods at Mastery level 1. Now this is okay, but do yourself a favour and get rank 1 with 3 or 4 gods of each role, as you're going to need to play all the roles at some point. Once we get into lobby, the first thing you should know is this isn't casual. It doesn't matter how fast you call your role, as there's an ELO pecking order, by which I mean anyone higher than you can pick what they want. It's an unforgiving system that everyone has become accustomed to, but it's a necessary evil, hence the reason to master gods of each role. The attitude most players will have is that they can play your role better than you can, even if it's not true. It's simply the League mindset. Once the picks and bans are done, we get into game, and this is where everyone expects starting builds that match or are pretty close to the current meta. I will be putting up a new series where we keep track on the meta so everyone has a reference media not long after this video has been uploaded. But in short, everyone expects the support to have Hand of Gods, Eye of Providence, Watcher's Gift and 2 health pots, going into Midas boots after that. AD carries have a few builds to choose from, but Death Toll, Assy, Health Pot, Mana Pot is pretty standard. Junglers will always start with Hand of Gods, Boomba's Mask and Red or Purple Pot depending on the physical or magical nature of the jungler. Thanatos is the only one that starts with Death Toll instead of Boomba's Mask, as it's not needed. Mid will grab Vampiric Shroud, Boots 1 and a couple of pots, or Vampiric Shroud, Bancroft's Talon and 3 pots. And lastly, the solo laner. If it's a mage, they will follow a mid-light build, and if it's a physical bruiser, they will get Hand of Gods and Mystical Mark versus a physical, or Stoner Gaia versus a mage. That's a small meta lesson just to give you the bare bones of what you need to know once you're in game. Even though you will need to play all roles at some point, I suggest you try and stick to one role and learn everything you need to know about it. It's better to be good at one role than average at 5 roles, as being average will most likely mean you will lose your lane to someone more experienced in that lane or the jungle. Read all the tooltips of the gods you use every now and again, as there are little hidden perks that are not so obvious and quite a lot of the time are overlooked. Me for example, I play AD carry a lot, and knowing that Apollo's the moves, if you hit enemies with it, gods or creeps, it adds stacks to your Audacity passive, and we all know those times where you almost one-shot a wave with So Beautiful, but they need one more basic attack to die. Well, now you can play aggressive and dash through them, fill up your passive, clear the wave, and they won't be expecting you to do it. With Sobek, his Lurking Waters gives you 10% mana per second while submerged, so instead of sitting there with no mana, use it and get 40% mana back. Knowing exactly what a god is capable of will better prepare you for fights to come and could give you the edge in the future. Rotations are a big part of winning. A small rule of thumb, if the person you're laning against isn't in lane, then neither should you be. If there's a fight on your side of the jungle and you can leave your lane safely, do it. The quicker you react and the faster you get there can give your team a small advantage window before the opponent shows up to even the fight. Every second counts in these situations, as being 1 to 2 seconds late could mean your team loses the team fight. But with everything, there is also another side to that coin. If your opponent rotates and you're either in a bad position or feel your team can handle it, push the tower and make them regret leaving the lane and punish them for it. So, another little saying, rotate or push. Now, everyone should have the mid-camp timers and rotate for them at 2 minutes 20, 4 minutes 25 if they're cleared instantly. Now, for the duo lane, only your support should really rotate unless their carry does as well, as your job is to farm like mad. I'll also throw this out there because people really need to know this. The jungler is not there to win you your lane, and it's not the jungler's fault if you get ganked. It's all on you. You should be able to win your lane on your own. The jungler's job is to farm the jungle to allow the solo laner to have solo XP and gold while ganking when he sees an opportunity, and to prevent the enemy jungler getting ahead. Now, if you die to the enemy jungler, you're making the jungler's job harder. If your jungler falls behind or has a bad start, don't expect ganks, as they need to farm hard to catch back up. Don't overextend when the jungler is missing, and buy wards. Mid should ward both mid camps, solo both sides of the fire giant, and support is pretty standard. both entrances to the duo lane and Golf Fury. Like you should always be checking your mirrors when driving, you should almost always be looking at the minimap, checking where players are, potential rotations, incoming ganks, and because you can't see behind you when running away, the minimap will be your only eyes on how close the pursuers are. You need good map awareness, as there's no point picking up gods like Neef, Athena, Thor, Apollo or Xbalanque, as their global ultimates can turn the tide of a battle if you know the fight is happening. Objectives are key in this game. Towers, Golf Fury, Fire Giant, as they give global gold and experience. So after you win a team fight and have the advantage in numbers, grab a Gold Fury to increase your lead. You can also grab a Gold Fury if you have a ward coverage and the enemy team is on the other side of the map or haven't counter warded in a while. Pushing the towers is the main concern though. Sometimes you'll split push, try and keep the enemy split, or after a team fight, push 1 or 2. I have been in some instances where we've been in a situation where we've been behind and the enemy is pushing our right tier 1 tower, while 2 or 3 of us are mid at their tier 1 tower. So instead of retreating to try and defend a doomed tower, trade towers. When they kill one, we'll get one of theirs. And in fact, it worked out better for us because we pushed the tier 2 tower and they backed after one, so sometimes attacking is the best defense. It's the same with everyone that can safely split push, like Apollo. You can push a lane, act as a decoy, 1 or 2 enemies arrive to defend, and then you rotate back to the Fire Giant or a team fight and outnumber them. In team fights, focus is the most important thing. Focusing on your positioning and which god you should be focusing on as well. The supports and bruisers are there to start the fights and CC the damage dealers, but once the fight starts, they need to keep everyone off your team's damage dealers. Mages, AD carries and the jungler's job are to focus the biggest threats and the quickest kill targets. There's no point killing a tier or a Vamana if you've just let an Anhur or Freya blast you from safety. Lowest health isn't the best indicator, especially if it's on a support or a bruiser. Mages and AD carries in most cases should be the main focus of any team fight, and your DPS must get in there and silence them quickly before they get you, of course. Using your skills for zoning can also increase your chances of winning a team fight. Putting a tornado or whirlpool down to split the enemy forces can be better than just using them for damage. BMing or bad mouthing is something we all have to put up with. You could be not strong at a certain role or not playing it as they would expect and they BM you for it, or your team is simply being outplayed and they're just looking for someone to blame. The best thing you can do is at the first sign of it, just hit that mute button. Yes, I am a bit of a hypocrite and don't. I will BM back sometimes, but the idea of muting at first sign is to help reduce this. The enemy, Riot, did some research into why gamers are abusive and their findings showed that most are not. The thing that happens is the average gamer gets either frustrated or has a bad day in 1 of every 10 games. And in a game with 10 players, basically on average you will always have one person in that game in a bad mood and will start it all off, when the rest of the time everyone is happy. Well, I believe I covered everything. If there's anything I majorly missed, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do about it. If you've enjoyed this video and are not already a subscriber, hit that sub button and stay tuned for more guides that will be coming out shortly. You can catch my live stream at twitch.tv/RizTheUK and follow me on Twitter at RizTheUK.